a change to the published schedule. Instead of Molly Crabapple, who's running slightly late, we've swapped the order of addresses, and we have Eyal Weizman here, who needs no introduction for a Goldsmiths audience. Eyal is an intellectual whose books on Israel-Palestine and humanitarianism I've been reading for years. And more recently, he's been turning his hand to using architectural modeling tools to investigate international war crimes and other very political investigations in forensic architecture, for which, among other things, he's recently been nominated for the Turner Prize. I checked William Hill bookmakers this morning, and he's odds-on favorite to win, so you won't make much money by backing him, but we all want him to win. Eyal.
Thank you for the introduction. This is the panel on aesthetic journalism, and I just wanted to let you know that there's a really great new publication on aesthetic journalism with a lot of the theme of this panel at the bookshop for £3. This is done by Solveig and Sophie, somewhere around here. I wanted to speak about forensic architecture, but in particularly speaking about the theme of the panel of aesthetic journalism is to show you the material that is now presented at the Tate Gallery, because I wanted to, as part of our Turner Prize entry, precisely in order to show how two kind of, suppose, incompatibles, an art space and a journalistic one, could somehow be linked and in a most unlikely kind of arena through architecture. So I'm going to show you a case a single case that somehow demonstrates the breadth and kind of spectrum of our technique. It's a case that has taken place in Israel, in the south of Israel, at the desert, Negev desert, where Palestinian Bedouin villagers are continuously undergoing demolition. The villages are undergoing demolitions, which are very much looking like this, like military operations. Here in the video, you would see the raid on the Bedouin village of al-Khiran in the Negev desert. Hundreds of policemen arrive in the middle of the night in order to demolish that village. There is, though, an activist from an organization called Active Stills. Her name is Keren Manor. She's on the ground and she takes 96 videos of the process of the police eviction. As you see, a lot of policemen coming, pushing and shoving. All of a sudden, what we hear are 3 shots. She hears those shots and she takes cover. She switches off her camera, and for 14 seconds her camera is off until she turns her camera back on and other sounds are being heard, including another shot. We are trying later to establish her location. What you see here is a way in which we are composing her video onto a panoramic model of the crime scene in order to figure out what has taken place. She, if somehow there is no sound here now on the video, but if it would be, you would hear a really hard, continuous car horn honking. She is searching desperately for where the wounded person is. She knows somebody's getting hurt. People are shouting, somebody's hurt, somebody's hurt. She cannot see it. This is the closest she gets to the car, and in a sense, she is so close, but she cannot see. That model is really just a way of describing her location versus here, that Jeep where Yaqub Musa Abu al-Kiyan, a villager, a teacher, a deputy head of a school for Bedouin kids, is bleeding to death within that vehicle. The next morning, this is what we wake up to. Officer murdered in a Negev terror attack. The Israeli police is tweeting about a terror attack. They say that Yaqub Musa Abulkian in his vehicle was charging towards the policeman, and the policeman had no choice but to shoot him dead. A member of parliament and somehow a collaborating partner of us, Ayman Odeh, Palestinian man, lawyer from Haifa. He's the head of the Communist Party in Israel and the head of the Joint Arab List in the Israeli parliament, is wounded by the police when he's trying to inquire what has happened around this car. This man, our prime minister, is tweeting his condolences tweet very early in the morning and affirming that there was a terror attack. So he said the policeman, so the Yaqub Musa Abulkian is charging with his car, he's running over a policeman dies. This is the condolences Facebook account, Facebook post. He said the policeman was murdered today in a terror attack, and he threatened destruction, further destruction of terrorist homes. That means the Bedouin homes in the Negev. The minister in charge of the police claimed that the head of the Communist Party that we saw previously was wounded to his head, has blood on his hands. Rather, we saw the blood was in his head, to his head, but he says the blood is on his hand, accuses him of inciting the terror that has resulted in the death of the policeman. A serious situation, isn't it? And in fact, part of the government attempt to delegitimize and somehow take this party, the Joint Arab List and the Communist Party, away from the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. In the funeral itself, the head of the police, the chief of the police, claims that not only that was a terror attack, but it was a Daesh terror attack, that the teacher was a member of Daesh or ISIS, and that we need to outroot this connection. So we started an investigation. In 24 hours, we are starting to investigate the material that is there. The police makes an error at some point and posts a tweet, tweets a thermal imaging video showing the incident. They're saying, this is the terrorist vehicle, here is the group of policemen, the terrorist vehicle driving towards them, and then he notices the policeman, accelerates and run them over. Also before, they said the terrorist vehicle has the lights off, drives in the middle of the night. You saw it was the whole event happened in the dead of night, i.e. all the signs of a terrorist attack. Later, they release the material without annotation, and we can go through it. So what do we have? So we have a video from the ground from a collaborator of us, Keren Manor, who filmed, who did not see the event, but her camera captured the sound of the incident. And we have a thermal images that have video from the police that has no sound. The thing that we do, again, for some reason there is no sound now on it, is that we put the sound from the activist video over the thermal video from the police, and the whole different story becomes clear. We also are able to harvest the metadata from that video. Can we not have sound? I mean, it's the whole issue here is that we put sound on image, and this is how the material somehow exposes itself. Here are the shots on Keren Manor's video. We could hear 4 shots, and in the police video, if we can go to the place that we said, please, we could sync it up and look carefully at the video at that point, and we start seeing very small heat clouds coming from the police guns. Like you would see now, if we increase now that sort of zoom into that area, you could see clearly that at there appears a kind of a heat cloud coming from the police gun. This is a thermal imaging. What it captured is the heat coming out of the barrel. But what we could see by syncing those two things is that the police is actually shooting at the car while it is driving slowly still. And only then, if we can continue please with the video, it's driving slowly. Only after the shot does it accelerate and go and hit the policeman. So here for 14 seconds, this activist was seeking shelter and could not did not capture any sound. As I showed, she captured no image. Later, she realized something is happening. She switches on her camera again. And what we are seeing by synchronizing the sound and image, if you play it, please, is this is the vehicle, Yakumo Sabal-Qiyan. We see 6 policemen slowly closing in towards the vehicle. We hear the car horn. They come closer and closer, and then we hear a gunshot within that. Again, something in the technology here is not perfect, but if you go either watch it online in our investigation or at the Tate, you would hear that at some point the policemen come close and there is a sound that she captured of a single gunshot. The next day, we release our finds on an activist blog. 972 is a kind of a blog of anarchists. Not a very widely circulating blog, but it was the first one to have picked it. And Ayman Odeh, the head of the Communist Party, tweets it, this article, and the police, like the last of the trolls, is calling our edit manipulative edit. No clip that distorts evidence will change the fact that this was a terror attack. So that goes back and forth between our version of events and that of the police. But questions start to emerge, and the head of the police is being questioned on that here in the Israeli parliament. In that video, he would say, I would continue to tell the truth despite there being members of the left. He's referring to the head of the Communist Party and us, and in our attempt to expose it. No one will silence me, share good night, etc. But still, even very conservative media like the Jerusalem Post is actually starting to kind of pick up on the story that something is wrong in the police narrative. If you remember, one of the most important claims that the police had, that the Yakumo Sabal-Qiyan was charging at the police with his lights off, and that was an indication of all right, I kind of lost the place in the video, but that was an indication of that being a terror attack. What we did is that we decided to look again at all the hundreds and videos that were filmed by different parties throughout that, looking for that car in the background of some of the videos. Because it was dark, it was almost impossible to locate. Then we realized that Al Jazeera, which have used and broadcasted a kind of a generic footage that they just used to illustrate the event without noticing, had the car in it, and that the lights on the car, when you kind of build it into our model, are clearly seen not only as being on, but being on high beams. So, but all that navigating through the night, navigating all these night images, had to take place by combining sound, those night shots, and a sort of 3D model that located all those things. So both the 972 and later Al Jazeera is kind of showing our finds that the lights are on. Now here is a kind of paradoxical thing that happened. We considered the first bit of evidence to be the stronger one. It was cross-referencing several media sources with a measured model, etc., showing that the police is fired first, but it was much more possible, because of the composed nature of that evidence, to be accused by the police as for us being manipulating the evidence. And this is what they were claiming. I.e., the more somehow sophisticated the forensics, the more they were able to maintain the claim that we are manipulating. But a very simple thing, they said the lights were off, but we can show the lights were on, somehow demolish the narrative of the police, and new video evidence contradict claim by the Israeli police. This is a cartoon in one of the Israeli newspapers. He's saying, the minister in charge of the police is saying to the chief of police while looking at something that I think or want to hope is our video, he says, "I've got it, you will apologize and I will accept your apology." One of the ministers still apologizes. In fact, the very idea of ministerial apology for Palestinian in Israel is extremely controversial, and the minister of police finally backtracks on a claim, but never apologized and never wanted to do that. We wanted to continue investigate the last shot. That was very important for us because whereas the police, sorry, if we can just, please don't show it yet, if you can pause it. At this moment, the unit that is in charge of police crime, of investigating police crime, is entering into the investigation and trying to determine whether to charge the policeman that shot the vehicle, but decide not to do it on a very familiar argument of the split second. In a split second, police had to make a decision. They did not know whether that person driving the car was threatening or not and had to act, i.e. the kind of instinct, the same instinct that in the US leads disproportionately to targeting of black drivers, for example. In Israel, Palestinians, the instinct is always directed towards particular communities. But we thought the police is much more vulnerable for the last shot. Because as you saw, the vehicle was already stopped. 6 policemen were kind of like going slowly towards the vehicle, and we hear a shot which we thought indicated that it might have been an execution shot. So we undertook a reenactment, if you can play it now, please, with the same vehicle, and while driving it, we realized two things. We realized that you do not need to press the gas pedal if you were hurt at the top of the hill, and this is where the shots were taken, i.e. if the trigger of that crime is the gas pedal that has been taken, simply taking the foot off it would lead the car to, please stop, in the same speed. But more importantly, that while the car goes over 20 kilometers per hour, the door automatically locks. And when the door automatically locks, it cannot be opened from the outside. Now, we have seen at the beginning that the car door was open, and the only person that could have opened it was the person inside. He was alive, therefore, at this stage, we suspect, opened the door at the request of the police and was shot. And now our aim, and this is, we kind of used our nomination for the Turner Prize and the exhibition and the budget that came with it in order to open that case and to try to get the pathological report in order to confirm that statement or that narrative. So here it is, the police closes it on the basis of the split-second argument that we can speak about maybe later. The village is going to be demolished, and somehow all this case and exposure has not led to any effective change on the ground. This is another part where we are actually showing, looking at 1945 British military images of Palestine showing that those people were there already around this time. This is the installation, and somehow at the Tate, and somehow our aim is to continuously now with with forensic architecture to use cultural and art forums in order to open those cases that could not go to court. Our organization, and definitely not with a collaboration with the Communist Party in Israel, could not be a party to a legal dispute over there, and that is undone. And therefore, we're looking for alternative forums that could exercise any form of leverage on it. Thank you very much for listening.